Canadian jobs just tells me that you know absolutely nothing about the immigration process in Canada.
I'm calling her out. This is a big one, and she is full of shit. And I'll explain.
This guy has stitched me a number of times, so let's hear what you have to say.
Government gets newcomers, right? We need skilled workers. And then they bring over those skilled workers, and then they make them go back to school. Yeah.
Sometimes skilled workers are brought over here under the guise that they can just come over here and start work right away. But that's not really how it ends up working, because lots of times there's qualifications and different regulations that they have to meet. So they have to go through training in order to make sure that they are going to be able to hold up to Canada's guidelines. And is this really forthright when they're coming here? No. Lots of immigrants don't realize this, and they are pissed about it. So he's not incorrect about this.
Do you even care? Do you even know?
Do I even care, and do I even know? Yeah, I do actually. 2 of my last 3 boyfriends were immigrants, one from Kosovo, one from India. I was with them during the time that they were going through the immigration process and while they got their permanent residency. A number of my friends are immigrants, and I also have a friend with a company that helps with immigration. I do have a good amount of knowledge on this, and I do have a good amount of experience with the struggles that immigrants go through. So yeah, that's why I talk about it.
Of course not, right? Also, there's a program from the government where they subsidize big box companies that hire newcomers. Yeah, so
it's a bit misleading. The programs that he's talking about are programs through the government that help companies pay for their workers' salaries if they are to hire immigrant workers and if they qualify for these programs.
You see that? So taxpayers, Canadian taxpayers, are paying money to these companies to lessen the opportunities for Canadians. Yeah. Do you understand that? Of course not. Right.
Okay, I'm not sure why I make you so angry, but go off. But yes, I do understand this actually, and we're gonna talk about this in a minute.
How about the sponsorship, right? Yeah, you come over here and then work your way up to a certain level, and then you can sponsor your family coming over. Yeah, until they get over here, and then they keep raising the sponsorship rate, making it almost impossible for people to bring their family over.
Here's what he's talking about, and he's not wrong. And I actually went through this process with my ex where he had to prove his income for the last 3 years in order to be able to sponsor his family. So the income requirements, they change depending on how big the family is, that kind of thing. But they basically have to be able to prove that they can provide for the people that they bring over for the next 3 years. And yes, it does increase, and it is extremely difficult for people to get this income and then bring their family over. It's not easy. He's correct.
On top of all that, we're losing opportunity. That's why our job rates are like that. That's why our youth couldn't get any job employment last summer.
This is, again, misleading and scapegoating on immigrants. Immigrants are not the sole reason why it's harder for youth to find work in Canada. There's a lot of reasons that contribute to this. One of them being that there's fewer entry-level jobs. We don't have kids bagging groceries anymore. We don't have gas jockeys. There's a lot of jobs that have been erased from society because of technology and things changing. The youth employment laws. We have new laws in Canada that make it harder to hire 14 and 15-year-olds. Lots of age requirements require that they be 16. Availability during school hours. These are things that affect an employer's desire to hire these young workers. Post-pandemic recovery. There's a lot of people that are coming back to work and they are taking entry-level jobs, and this also takes away from teen workers. Employer preferences. Teens are really highly unavailable. They're not as reliable. And so lots of employers are choosing to hire older workers. Let's not pretend that this is all about immigrants, because it definitely is not. Do they take some of these jobs? Yes, but they're taking jobs that students are just not able to commit to. So when we're talking about like Tim Hortons or McDonald's, they need people that can work longer hours and work late evening shifts. And lots of students just aren't able to commit to this. So they hire immigrants because they're more reliable, they're able to work longer hours, and they're able to work later. Let's not forget that some of the new youth employment laws state that they cannot work some of these hours.
How about housing? Got people on the housing list for like 10 years. Newcomers come over, they get first dibs.
Let's not classify that as all immigrants, because what you're talking about is refugees. And yes, when we save people from persecution, we do set them up with housing. We don't bring them over here and then just tell them, hey, go see if you can survive. We set them up for success. Yeah.
Do you think that's fucking fair?
Yeah, I do.
They're standing with them now. They're defending companies that are screwing over Canadians. Just because conservatives said something. Yeah. And I could go more into this, but I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, let's bring this conversation to a close. You're going to make assumptions as to why I would stand with immigrants. I have a lot of reasons, but you believe that it's because you're conservative and I'm not, whatever. You keep spouting off about how much Canadian taxpayers pay to house immigrants or to help them along the way or to do programs to help them in the workforce. We spent $3.3 billion in 2022, and in 2022, we generated $30 billion in revenue from international students, from immigrants. We got $30 billion. The immigrants that come here spend way more than Canadians do on healthcare and education. On education alone, their tuition costs 4 to 5 times more than the average Canadian citizen. And do you know what that pays for? If we did not have international students, programs would be cut, staff would be fired, class sizes would increase, research funding would shrink, and the government would have to bail out the universities, or they would have to do like very steep hikes in tuition for domestic students. If we lost international students overnight, it would wipe out more economic activity than the entire Canadian lumber export industry. Thousands of jobs in retail and real estate, transportation, hospitality, tech, and telecom, all of them would vanish overnight. So tell me, would you reject a $30 billion return on a $4 billion investment when it fuels your economy and fills labor shortages and pays taxes back into healthcare, roads, education? Would you reject that? Because that's what it does every single year. One more thing, you focus a lot on the jobs that are being stolen or the jobs that are hard to get now because of immigrants, but somehow we still have a major healthcare crisis, and we also need skilled workers, technology, and agriculture. We have massive job shortages in these, and guess which of those jobs immigrants fill most? All of them. All of them. Those are the exact jobs that we have labor shortages in. Anywho, it's been a slice.